Welcome back for fraction multiplication part 3. In this part, I really want to make sure everybody understands that multiplying fractions and mixed numbers is really very similar to whole numbers. There's nothing really new here, but it could be construed that way. And so I want to begin with an area model, because really anytime you're multiplying two factors, you could think about it as length times width, or being an area of a rectangle. So here, if we have 2 by 3, it's definitely 6. And I can draw it by actually breaking up this rectangle into 2 parts horizontally and 3 parts vertically to get 6 total parts. I believe that for kids, this visual will help them when they start multiplying mixed numbers, and even a mixed number by a fraction less than 1. So I'm going to do that now, and if this looks confusing, I have other videos already on YouTube to help with other fraction concepts, including equivalency and so on and so forth. Also, I have a lot of videos on TikTok, so please look for those. I'm trying to really help you. Thanks. First, in this example, we're doing a couple of unit fractions just to get the idea of the area model with fractions. So if I have 1/4 times 1/3, that's really 1/4 of 1/3. It's a small amount. But here, I can see 1/4 times 1/3, and it's part of this bigger whole unit. This is 1/4, and this is 1/3. So 1/4 times 1/3, well, if you divide it all out, these are my fourths, and these are my thirds. This is 1/4 times 1/3. You can see it's one piece out of 12. And so I think it's good to use the algorithm of just multiply straight across, but it's important to know when answers increase and decrease, and to make more sense of the math than just knowing the algorithm of multiply straight across. So here I've got 2 1/3 times 2, and I've got an area model where I can correlate it to the fact that 2 times 2 is 4, if that was all that I had, but I have 2 1/3. So for children to really grasp this concept, I would ask you to make sure they understand that the 1/3 is part of 2, but they can go together. So it's almost like a little addition problem here, right? 2 1/3, 2 1/3. Okay, so I got a 2 section and a 1/3 section. Now, what is 2 times 2? It's 4, and I could again see that by breaking this up into 2 whole units, and 2 units going horizontally. So 2 times 2 is 4. And now here I've got 2 groups of 1/3. So this is one group of 1/3. This is another group of 1/3. So that's 2/3 altogether. So 2 1/3 times 2 is 4 2/3. Essentially, I broke up this factor into its 2 parts, which is a much more important skill than doing something where you just teach your child to do 3 times 2 plus 1 and get 7/3, and then multiply by 2 over 1, because that's what we all memorized, and then get 14/3, and then hope that they can divide this accurately to get 4 2/3. Because of course this works, and I use it, but this, I think, should make sense, because this will rarely make sense to a young child until they can really see all the math. So here we have 1 1/4 times 1 2/3, which looks like, when I break it up into area model, there's 4 separate parts: the 1 times 1, the 1 times 2/3, 1 times 1/4, and then 2/3 times 1/4. And this idea of multiplying all the parts in 2 factors goes way beyond elementary school into middle and high school with quadratic functions and other areas. So it's helpful to understand this area model. So 1 times 1 is 1. One group of 2/3, 1 times 2/3 is just 2/3. One group of 1/4 is 1/4. And then 1/4 times 2/3, this is where it's okay if your child just remembers multiplying straight across is 2/12. And if you've been following my videos, your child knows 2/12 is equivalent to 1/6, because they take up the same amount of one whole unit. So that's really 1/6. So now we add all these parts up. 1 plus 2 2/3 plus 1/6 plus 1/4. Now that seems really hard, but it's really good practice because there's no real easy way to do this kind of problem. So you can see here I've got my fraction tiles laid out to really reinforce equivalent fractions. 4/12 equals 1/3. And 1/6 equals 2/12. And then 1/4, that's equivalent to 3/12. So have these out for your child to use. So again, here are the 4 parts of the area model, 1 and so on. So if 1/3 is 4/12, then 2/3 is double that, so it's 8/12. And then 1/6 was 2/12. And then 1/4 is 3/12. So 8/12 plus 2 more 12s plus 3/12 is 13/12. And that of course is added to 1. So you get an answer of 1 and 13/12. And hopefully your child will know that 12/12 is 1 whole, so this is equivalent to 2 and 1/12. Now that's a lot of work. Let's do it the old-fashioned way and sort of talk about the difference. So here I've taken 1 and 1/4 and applied the idea that 1 is the same thing as 4/4, or 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 more is 5 total fourths. And then here 1 is 3/3 because we're working with thirds, so 3/3 plus 2/3 is 5/3, or 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2 is 5, and then multiply straight across. That gives you 25/12. And then you would simplify that to make it a mixed number and know that 2 groups of 12 is 24. So 2, and then there's 1 piece left over. But see, I would worry that some kids will start doing this, and that becomes laborious too, and it takes away from the understanding of fractions, whereas this is all about understanding fractions. So, both methods work, but I think that it's just important to give your kids time to think about it, but not give them like a whole worksheet full of 20 problems, because it becomes repetitive and unnecessary once they understand and can see the fraction. Now here I'm hoping for some serious sense making from you and your children, because this says 4 1/3 times 1/2. Well, this is really just half of 4 1/3. So make sure you use that language with your kids. So if 4 times 1/2, or half of 4 is 2. And then half of 1/3, well, here's 1/3, and we can see that it would 1/6, because 2/6 is 1/3. So 1/2 of 1/3 is 1/6. So the answer here is 2 and 1/6. And remember, this algorithm of just multiplying straight across does work here, but really try and make sure your kid understands that this is less than both 1/3 and 1/2. All right, we're going to begin division of fractions next. I hope this helped. If you have any questions, you can email me, but please follow Super Teacher Guy for more, and thank you much.